Let us go back to exploring Midjourney, and I wanted to talk about the aspect ratio a little bit more in depth. Here we have a simple prompt, one word prompt robot, and it gives us the default aspect ratio, which is 1:1. And if we now add AR, so minus AR, we can change our aspect ratio. It's called a parameter in Midjourney. We can look at the documentation. Here's the aspect ratio. I'm under user guide, parameters, and there you find aspect ratios. As I've said, minus AR is the short form for minus aspect, and this can be used to have the default of 1:1 changed. 1:1 is just a simple square. Keep in mind you always have to use whole numbers. So 1.39 has to be adjusted to 139 if you have kind of like a weird aspect ratio. Here I have a 16:9 robot, and you can also see the composition changes. So it's dependent on the aspect ratio. Relatively hard to say how it depends on one another, but you can definitely see that it's different from the squares that we have above. Let us create another robot with 3:1. This would be, for example, a good aspect ratio for a Twitter header or YouTube channel header, something like this. One thing that I've noticed, and I didn't really know why that happened, but here it is explained, some aspect ratios may be slightly changed when upscaling. So whenever I exported a 16:9 upscaled photo from Midjourney and used it in Photoshop, it didn't really fit my canvas. There was a pixel missing here and there, and here it's explained it's not perfect when it's upscaled. So keep that in mind. You may have to readjust that using, for example, Photoshop or GIMP. I'm in version 5, which is currently the latest version, and here we can use basically any ratio, even though above 2.1 is experimental, but it's possible. As you've seen, I've used 3:1 in earlier versions. 2:1 was the max that you could use. Now anything is possible here. Here's some examples given. And we can also change the aspect ratio. Let us go back to Discord and I'll show you how that is done while our 3:1 is running. Here's the square, simple robot prompt. Let's just say we want to pick one of these, but we don't like the aspect ratio. Let me upscale number 1. We want to work on this. And now we can use custom zoom to adjust this aspect ratio. Click on it, this menu will pop up. Here's our robot prompt. Then there is our AR parameter and the zoom. And if we change it to 16:9, we can also change the zoom. Let me set 1.5. Oh, and I made a mistake here. It's 16:19. I wanted to have 16:9. So my bad here, but even these numbers would work. And you can use the custom zoom to adjust the original aspect ratio of your upscaled image. Our 3:1 is almost done. Once again, totally different composition. While it does, let me actually create a 16:9. And for zoom, let me stick to 2. We'll submit. Alright, here was our 16:9. Here's the 3:1. As I said, this is for headers, would be perfect. Once again, totally different composition. But this also works now in Midjourney version 5. Let us check the documentation again. Here it is called zoom out, but you've seen I've used the custom zoom button. Don't let that confuse you. We can use this one in Midjourney. It's currently called custom zoom. And here's just an example given for how we can set it. You've seen it, I've used minus minus AR and then use value 1 times value 2. I'll speed this video up a little bit while things are running in the background. And here's our 16 by 19 done, zoom 1.5, this was the upscale. And here we have the aspect ratio fixed, and also we've zoomed. And here's our 16 by 9. Once again, we've zoomed out. Let's just say we wanted to work on number 3 here. We'll upscale it, and again we can make it a square or use the custom zoom to readjust the aspect ratio. You don't necessarily have to zoom while you do this, so let us get back to this one, the square, custom zoom, aspect ratio 16 by 9, and I'll set the zoom to 1, which means that it's not going to zoom at all. It's going to keep this zoom level and just expand the aspect ratio. It should also run faster now, and you can already see here it basically expands the sides now and keeps the center unaffected. And here it is now. Let us compare it to the original upscale. You can see there is no zoom, and we've just expanded it on the sides to have our 16 by 9. And this is how you can use the aspect ratio in Midjourney. I hope this video was helpful, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.